going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. This conversation you could be having during the day, but having a night. Yes, we're back for another week for movie reviews, for news commentary, and general hijinks.
Hijinks it is.
Hijinks it is. With me, as ever, is co-piloting this thing with me is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, everybody?
So a bunch of stuff to get to. As you know, we have our movie review, and continuing the theme of Tasty Slice Month is the movie Striptease, starring Demi Moore.
She definitely was a tasty slice. I'll give her that.
Absolutely.
That's about all I can say about Striptease.
Yeah, I mean, not to give too much away, but it was an entertaining movie.
I was entertained. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was entertaining.
I'll say I did not regret watching it.
No. Yeah, the run. It was like almost 2 hours, which for a movie of this sort, you might think it's like, yeah, it ran it'd be a little bit too long, but even still, even given the runtime, it was still entertaining.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
Yeah. Rob, how are you doing? I think this is probably the first weekend that we didn't hang out or spend most of the weekend together. So.
Yeah. Let's see. What did I do? Mainly, I've been prepping for future episodes that we have planned. I've mainly been kind of like hanging out by myself at the apartment after work. Mm-hmm. Just working on some future episodes we're planning. The new NASCAR season is upon us, which I'm still finishing up watching some of the races from this past weekend. This weekend was kind of special because it is the 20th anniversary of Dale Earnhardt's death, which it's one of those things where especially when I'm watching racing, I do think about Dale Earnhardt a lot. He was the guy I rooted for growing up. He was kind of like one of my heroes, and it's the sport has definitely come a long way since he died. Especially safety wise, which is his greatest, probably his greatest legacy is the safety innovations that came after his death. And a lot of people have been sharing a lot of stories about him, and I've been watching some old Earnhardt wins, over the course of the week, just kind of relive some of those great memories. Yeah, as a fan at least.
Cool. I guess what would be your favorite either moment or win of Dale Earnhardt?
Well, there's a few moments that come to mind. Him winning his 7th championship in '94 to kind of tie him with arguably the greatest race car driver in NASCAR to ever race, which was Richard Petty. No one at the time ever expected anyone else to win 7 championships, but Bill did it, and there was that moment. The Daytona 500 win in '98 would probably rank up there very high, just because not only did it take him 20 years to win the race, it's not like he was never competitive. The thing is, he was competitive in almost every single Daytona 500 he raced at, and he lost it in every way imaginable. He's had been leading with like 10 laps to go, and majority of them, or it seemed like almost all of them, and lost it, either like ran out of gas. He had a seagull hit his car. He, and go into his radiator. He had a flat tire going into the last corner. He's been passed on the last lap on a couple of occasions. And then and in '97, the crazy thing is he was also, again, right in that same spot, leading with like 11 laps to go, and ends up getting in a tangle with a couple of other drivers, and his car flips down the back stretch, and it's like, oh, and the team is always like, oh, well, I guess that's it for the day. But Earnhardt didn't have any equipment that day, and he was getting ready to head into the ambulance, and he looked over at his car. It's like, wait a second, like, the wheels are still on the thing, and it's like everything looks straight. It's like he went out, it's like, is that thing gonna crank? And it's like, there's a guy that was in the car trying to get up on the tow truck, and they cranked it up. It ran. He's like, get the hell out of my race car. And then he ended up finishing the race with, I mean, it was duct tape and bungee cord together. He finished the race, which is amazing. And then, but then the very next year, he just had a car that just kicked everyone's ass, and ended up finally winning the damn thing. Which was a huge win for just Dale Earnhardt fans, and something I haven't seen ever again is every single member of every single pit crew and like every person in NASCAR imaginable went down to pit road and just high-fived him. The procession line was just I mean, he almost couldn't get the victory lane. It was so crazy. Everyone was celebrating that win that day. And there's that one, and there's two other victories. His 99, his win in Bristol in 1999. He tangled with another race driver, Terry Labonte, and this is, it's almost like it was a rematch from like the same race from 4 years ago, where they also tangled on the last lap. Terry Labonte won the first one with the wreck. Ended up getting a car wreck. He won the race. This time around, Terry Labonte passed Earnhardt on the last lap. Earnhardt, quote unquote, rattles his cage and spins him out to win this race. And I highly recommend watching. If you haven't seen that, if NASCAR fans who haven't seen that race, watch the highlights. I know NASCAR has remastered that race, and it's on their YouTube channel. Highly recommend watching it. A lot of fun. Very exciting race. And then his last win in Talladega, where he was 17th with 4 laps to go and ended up winning the race. It's just typical Dale Earnhardt, just making something out of nothing. Which is what he did his entire career. I mean, the guy didn't always have the fastest car, but he always found a way. And it was just his sheer willpower, always seemed to put him up front in winning.
That's cool. Yeah. Very cool.
What were you up to this weekend, Andy?
God, what did I do? Not much. Just watched. I watched the movie for today. I watched Striptease over the weekend, and then I went to a buddy's house to catch the fights on Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah, that was good. It was a really good fight. It's a lot, one of the interesting fights at the prelims was, I forget his name. I'm not really that versed on all the fighters, but there was one fighter who was like this high-ranking jiu-jitsu guy, and he got choked out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so all because I was with James and stuff, and and everyone like when that happened, everyone like was losing their minds, and then I was just kind of like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Because I didn't know who that guy was and like what the big deal was, but he was like this high-ranking jiu-jitsu guy. He's won like multiple like jiu-jitsu like world tournaments and stuff, and it's like he goes into the UFC, and then I don't think it was his debut fight, but I could be wrong, but he's like supposedly this jiu-jitsu master, and like he gets choked out.
Yeah.
So that's that's really gotta be disappointing for someone who dedicates themselves to a craft, or in this case a martial arts discipline, and that they get taken out. But
I'm telling you, I don't get a chance to watch them very often, but when I do, it is a fascinating sport to see what those guys can do. I mean, it's a human chess match. I mean that's what the UFC is.
yeah, and
And
even James even describes not MMA or UFC specifically, but he's always described jujitsu as a human chess, where it's like
it really is.
you grab the guy's collar, then he grabs your arm, and then you have to grab and then you have to like kind of counter that way. So it's like always kind of like thinking
it's always moved.
You have to think you have to think two moves ahead of your opponent.
Yeah.
Because every reaction, because they're gonna react to whatever you do, and so you have to anticipate what the following move and that following move is gonna bring. Uh, but yeah, it was a good time, good having getting together with people, and just enjoying some good fights.
Yeah, we had what was that on Sunday for me too. Like I was able to enjoy a San Diego burrito. One of my wife's friends
Oh,
came
that's
up
right.
from San Diego, and she bought me one of my burrito from one of my favorite burrito places down there. So that was quite.
Well, what specifically makes it a San Diego burrito?
Well, I mean, it's just that this is one of the places I always used to go while I was in San Diego. But I think the thing, okay, so with San Diego, here, like when we have burritos, there's always like, rice, beans, sour cream, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, except for the sour cream, I'm not a big sour cream fan at all. But I'll deal with the rice in a burrito. That's fine. But it feels like it becomes almost all rice in a lot of these burritos.
Mm-hmm.
And the best part about the burritos down there, none of the extra. It's just guacamole, pico de gallo, and lots of meat. And that's what I love. And they're big.
I see. Hmm. Yeah, there's a what is it? Well, there used to be. I don't know if they've survived the lockdowns, but there's a restaurant, El Torino, in just east of Koreatown. And it's one of the
Well,
places
I
that
hope they
me and
made
my
it.
hmm?
I hope they made it. I like that place.
Yeah, no, yeah, and they have like this thing called the all meat burrito, and it's literally just meat inside of a tortilla, and so yeah,
Well,
so if
yeah,
they
yeah. I mean, I get that from time to time, but like I said, with this one, it's not that I just want meat in there, but you get all the good helping of guacamole and pico de gallo along with
right.
it.
Right, but but for me, yeah, like that was the thing to order after a night of drinking and
Oh,
whatever.
100%.
Yeah. So like if you just want like like the carbs from a tortilla and just like pure protein of a all meat burrito, like literally it's just meat. Then you can't go wrong with the all meat burrito at
Get a little bit of hot
El
sauce, but their
Torino.
hot sauce is oof, is hot.
Yeah, yeah, I think they're them and King Taco, they're the same company, I believe.
I believe so. Yeah.
They're owned by the same person. So yeah, their sauces are great. Like the red and green sauce, it's yeah. You can't go wrong with either, but I usually do both at the same time.
Man after my own heart.
Yeah. Because why? Because why? I'm all about options, so it's like, why choose?
I
It's like
choose
red sauce or green sauce. Put your hands together.
bingo.
It's kind of why I get my whenever we go to like Tommy's or something, I always get the chili cheese on the side because again, options. You're creating options for yourself, and sometimes you don't want all that chili cheese. Sometimes you just want a palate cleanser, and just eat one single like plain fry. And so
That's true.
yeah,
That's true.
so you got to create you have to have create options for yourself.
Oh man, we did a recording session a few weeks ago, and we had Tommy's afterwards. I got that
Oh
mega
yeah.
combo. Oh man.
Yeah, you were being a little glutton. You
Thing,
were being a little gluttonous that day.
I
I have to
was.
say.
I'm shocked that I finished it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like what was it, the triple like mega or whatever?
So the mega combo at Tommy's is a triple chili cheeseburger, chili cheese fries, and they're like a super large drink. But oh man, I cannot believe I finished that.
Did you finish it? I don't even remember
I
if you
finished
actually
it.
finished it. But
I did not feel great afterwards, but because I was so damn full,
right.
I felt like I was gonna roll, I had to like roll over to like the back to the recording area so we could finish up doing the podcast. Oh man, that was a lot too much food.
Yeah, it was well, it's not that I hadn't had a chili burger in a while. I think the last time we got anything chili was when we went to Carney's.
Yeah.
A few months back, but to have it in that type of concentration where it's like I had I got the double chili cheeseburger and I got the chili cheese fries and
Yeah.
I mean last time I think it was only we got the chili dogs. Oh, but we did add bacon to it. That was a revelation.
Oh, we are definitely doing that again.
Yeah, we're definitely doing that.
I don't know.
Oh, and then actually I saw a sign. Remember when we went? I saw a sign at Tommy's where they say you could add bacon. So
what? Okay, well.
Yeah, that's why I was like a little upset because they didn't have it on like the main menu. But when we got to the pickup window, there was a sign that says add bacon for a nominal price. I was just like, what? Why wasn't that why wasn't that on
menu? I would have
on the menu at the speaker box? I would have totally added bacon.
Well, we're definitely doing that next time too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the Carnies the adding bacon. I don't know how I missed that all these years. I would have totally been doing that.
I know, right? It's just like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, a snake could bit you.
Yeah.
The plainly obvious was staring you right in the face. It's like, of course I'm gonna add bacon to this. It's like who needs clear arteries?
I don't.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I mean, but real talk though, I do have to be careful because because family history and blah blah blah.
I plan on my heart exploding at 50, and that'll be that. So I got a good 15 years left. That's good.
Right. As long as you have it all planned out.
I mean, I'm not gonna leave my wife with nothing, so she'll be well taken care of.
Yeah. Well, I have to go when you go because you're not leaving me with Joyce.
I mean, more than likely she's gonna want to go too, so it'll be like a double murder or suicide.
Yeah, it's a suicide pact.
Yeah. That's a joke, folks. I'm not actually gonna murder my friends and my wife and then take myself out. Okay, that's not gonna happen. So anyone that's watching this is like, this is egregious. No, it's not gonna happen. Okay, it's a joke.
Okay.
Yeah. If something
just so let it be known that neither Robert or I will ever suicide ourselves, and we will not take our family members with us.
Avenge my death.
Yes, avenge our deaths. If we ever fall down elevator shaft and land on 13 bullets.
Exactly.
But okay, well I think that leaves us with a very nice segue into into some of the news items we planned to talk about today. And I think specifically is the whole Gina Carano kerfluffle.
Oh man, yeah. Well, obviously this is the big news item of last week, and they've actually been a lot of people have like, how dare you have Gina Carano in this role, and like a lot of honestly, people that do not care
The
about
people who, yeah, the people who were, watching Star Wars like 5 times in the theater, or dressing up as like Jedi or stormtroopers, or spent your or forking over like $50 for an action figure. Those people are not. Okay, the people
no,
who are the
they're
people who are like
like
outraged over her tweets or whatever, or basically her non-conformity. Those aren't the people. Those aren't the fans. Those aren't the people who, yeah, like as I described, dressing up to go watch, Star Wars movies in the theater 5 times, and
yeah,
and
and
spending low boatloads of money for toys and action figures and the like. Those aren't the fans that are upset at Gina Carano.
I mean, for me, all I care about is like, a, does she add anything to Star Wars, which she did, and like, was she good at what she did? Absolutely, and like,
Yeah, and
considering
I,
like
and I think and I think that should be the only criteria. Is like,
considering
does she add to the mythos, the lore of Star Wars, and two, does she do it well? Yes to
yeah,
both. So what's
considering
the
her
problem here,
background,
folks?
like she became a very good actress.
Hmm.
You get like some of these people that are coming in from the fighter ranks and all,
Yeah, like the
because
wrestlers, like your Rocks, or what is
yeah,
it,
Dwayne,
or your John
The Rock has become
Cena's,
a good one. Yeah, John Cena, not quite so much.
right?
Um, but like, but she's done a very good job. I was like, bravo, all right. But yeah, like initially, like because there was some controversy last year that I heard, with her tweets, like, "Ooh, we don't like that," blah blah blah, and then even well at the time the star of the Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal, stood behind her and like, hey, no, we're, she's one of us. Like we got her back, and I have no problem with what she's doing. Well, finally, someone has some goddamn balls, and they're not gonna fire him. I guarantee that. Um, and yeah, it's just so I was like, okay, well, finally but once that ball starts rolling, I mean, these people just they do not quit. These and obviously there's been a lot going on with the election. There's been a lot going on with the riots, not all the stuff that's been going on, and honestly, as we all know. Um, conservatives have been targeted. I mean, Parler's been like pretty much wiped off from the face of the earth.
Well,
All these,
I heard it's back. I don't.
well,
I just, yeah, because I think I just read something before we started streaming that that Parlor is back, but I don't think the app is back yet. Just the website.
it could all be back today, like right now.
Right.
If but that's it. Just they're going to the powers that be, our social betters. It's like, oh well, no, we have to really, we really need to make sure that you're doing things, our way. It's like that kind of defeats the whole purpose
Well, yeah,
of.
that was kind of one of the early controversies with Gina Carano and Disney, where they asked her to put like pronouns on her Twitter little blurb, and she's like, no. And then so Disney forced the issue, and so she ended up just putting kind of tongue in cheekly the sounds of like a robot. It's like bleep blop bloop,
Yeah.
as her pronouns. And so
I was like at first, I was like, what the hell is this? And then I was like, oh, now I see why. That's brilliant.
yeah,
It's because what are they gonna know? It's like those are my pronouns, bleep blop bloop.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah, it's just like, you know, I mean, if I was whatever, I'm never gonna. I'm not. Despite what many people would want, I'm never gonna get elected. To any public office. So whatever. Yeah, like what if I made my pronoun nigger?
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
I that's my preferred pronoun. You got to use it. I'll turn the rules against them. That's what you have to do. You have to turn the rules against them.
yeah. Uh, so obviously, like then the quote unquote backlash, like which is really like four people shouting into a trash can.
Yeah, pretty much.
But they project their voice through that trash can, so it seems like it's louder than it actually is,
Mm-hmm.
and they end up dumping her. And I think what part of like her tweet was, there was something that I forget exactly what she was what news story she was talking about, but essentially she compared like it was, I think it was like the deal with the whole like kind of censoring and canceling of conservatives, and she obviously made a
Or like
comparison.
and just to give her a little credit, is that maybe not even specifically conservatives or Republicans, but just anyone with a differing opinion to what is now socially acceptable.
Right, and obviously she compared that to like what it was, pretty much you have the government and social betters and tech companies turning people against their fellow man, just like what happened in not the beginning of Nazi Germany, which
Mm-hmm.
honestly, like I am, we have exhausted to I'm so bored of all the comparisons to Nazi Germany. Like,
Yeah,
come
yeah.
on. There were other
Whenever I
like,
hear that, it's just like, what else you got?
now don't get
You
me
know?
wrong. That whole like that early part of the 20th century, from pre World War One through World War Two and its aftermath, I find very fascinating. But it seems like the like the horse tunnel vision that people seem to have, where they lock in on this like on this one section of history, and they beat the shit out of that dead horse. That
Well, yeah, and I think like the her tweet or whatever or her story on Instagram, I think it highlights a very good point too, because it's like they always get it's like those people who read the last chapter of a book before they read the book entirely. It's like, well, like how did this person get to this point, or how did this part of the story resolve itself? And I think, and that was what she was pointing out. It's like the Nazis only could have done what they have done is because if they didn't first prime people to do it first.
yeah. Well, and like I said, it's not untrue. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people are like, oh, how dare she? Because it's not like calling Donald Trump a Nazi or something. Whatever the reason is.
Right,
Uh,
and it's like the entire hypocrisy because everyone on that side beats the Nazi horse to death. Even Pedro Pascal did it. Everyone on the left has done it. They called Trump a Nazi. They called conservative Nazi. They called anyone right of Mao a Nazi. But they constantly use that comparison, but like nothing happens to them. There's no maybe because conservatives or Republicans or centrists are just more what is it, measured about things, and it's like okay, that it's like kind of like the Big Lebowski response. It's just like, well, that's like your opinion, man.
yeah,
Um, like especially when like Pedro Pascal put that picture from the kids with in the striped pajamas in the concentration camps, and then a picture of a group of brown kids behind like this cage looking thing, and I say brown looking and I say cage looking because the photo turned out to be what is it? Not even from the year that he claimed it was to be, and it wasn't even in the country that he claimed it was, because
Oh
the
yeah.
picture, yeah, because the picture that he used was from a picture from like even I think a few years ago. It wasn't 2020. It was like 2017 or some such, and it was in Palestine, and it was at a soup kitchen. And
Yeah.
it was a bunch of Palestinian kids waiting to get fed at the soup kitchen, and it wasn't even in America, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even Mexicans.
Right, and then you have like the whole. I mean, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Just like the whole thing with like the the honorable AOC, staring into a empty parking lot, but the way that she had it photographed like made it look like she was actually like doing
Yeah, she was
something.
like, yeah, she was looking at like emaciated bodies and kids in like striped pajamas or whatever. But it was an empty parking lot. It was literally an empty parking lot.
There was nothing, like literally nothing.
Yeah, it was like a fence in front of the building and she was crying in front of that like building's parking lot.
Oh, those were crocodile tears. She didn't feel a damn thing. But anyways, the reason I say this, like, I'm so exhausted of the whole, Nazi, comparisons. It's just like it's tired. It doesn't, and honestly, like, I think there's, something way worse that like I can see happening again that I don't see like anyone talking about. Like, is something that actually happened in this country that is just stuffed under the rug, where the Democrat hero, FDR, who imprisoned legal, either legal residents or actual American citizens against their will, and stole everything from them. And that was the internment camps at Manzanar, and no one talks about this at all anymore.
Well, yeah, because FDR was a huge lefty, and so it's a weird in a weird way they protect the left protects they very tightly circle the wagons until you get hit, and then it's like, oh, he's too far gone. It's like, oh no, it's cool, they only got me in my shoulders. Like, no, you're too far gone, and they throw you outside the circle
Yeah.
and leave you to fend for yourself. But yeah, like for some reason, like they really protect FDR. Like they'll never like until like they have to throw FDR to the wolves, they'll never do it. But yeah, it's
Well,
like, yeah, but that's a very good point that you brought up, and like, yeah, no one is bringing this up because everyone talks about Nazi Germany. It's like, oh well, yeah, it's like they the media and stuff, they turn everyday citizens against the Jews. Like, well, everyday the media turned Americans against the Japanese Americans.
yeah, Americans against Americans,
Yeah,
which
Americans
is
against Americans.
exactly what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to get to the point where, you know, do we become the, an enemy of the state, enemy of the well, we already are, in some ways we already are. But yeah, that we're the enemy of the state, enemy of the media, and then it's like, oh well, we can just imprison you. It's like you don't have these certain opinions or you don't believe in these ideologies. Well,
Right? Yeah, it's
you're
like, oh, you didn't put up the black square, so we get to throw you in prison. So,
yeah,
oh,
and
you didn't put your fist up in the air when we demanded it to you, so we get to throw you in prison.
exactly. And the fact that, um, I remember reading about like some of the stories, like some of the books about it and some of the stories. And when I was in school, I guarantee that that's no longer taught like that.
Oh
Those,
no, yeah, no one talks about it.
um, and at the time, like I guess maybe I was too young or I couldn't really quite like make sense of that. Thing was like, there's no way this is. At first I thought maybe it was just a story. It's like there's no way that this is real. And then it's like you actually like as I get older, it's like, oh my god, this is, and the fact that like this could easily happen very soon. And
Oh
this is
yeah,
like
it did happen. It did happen.
not only did it
Yeah, and like
happen,
and my and like my
it's happening
even
again.
before I was even aware of it, my first introduction to it was from Karate Kid.
That's right.
Well, because Mr. Miyagi's wife, and well, him and his wife were probably sent to Manzanar, and then when they needed manpower, because the Japanese Americans still thought, especially the ones born and raised here, I'm sure they still saw themselves as Americans, and so they volunteered to go fight in World War II.
No one was more pissed than like the Americans. Yeah, they had Japanese ancestry, but they were Americans, and no, trust me, they were pissed, just as pissed off as the rest of us.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
and,
for
and it
Pearl
wasn't.
Harbor. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it was just like Japanese that were thrown in there because there was
Yeah,
probably people.
basically anyone with slanted eyes. So
Yeah,
if me and my family were around back then, we would have been thrown in there too.
yeah, and it's funny because you have George Takei, who was also involved with that. Like he was in Manzanar for a time when he was younger,
Mm-hmm.
but like the guy like never speaks up about that at all, and never calls it out, never constantly makes the dumb Nazi jokes, all this other crap. It's like, wow. I mean, the fact that
It's
like
like, yo, bro, you were actually in an internment camp.
where like you have Americans, maybe like your own side that you claim to be like a champion of,
Mm-hmm.
through your family stole everything from you and threw you in jail against your completely against the Constitution and your civil rights.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that like you don't even speak up about like any of these rights being violated again, maybe because now you're part of the social betters, but still, I mean, it's just, if you have any like sort of balls, maybe you'd actually speak up about that.
Well, maybe it's just the inverse thing, where it's like, as with so much dick in his ass that his balls actually shrink.
It's just
But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a really good point there, Robert. Even I didn't, even I forgot about it, or
I've been thinking
I
about
was I was completely blindsided by the, and I was only, only kind of worrying about the fire, in front of me, but I forgot the ashes that are behind me.
right.
Um,
And it's been on my mind all week, to be honest. Like, I was hearing this story and it's like, oh my God, I'm tired of the Nazi comparisons because you look at like what was actually, because there was so much more happening than just that. As bad as it was, trust me, and it's bad.
mhm.
And it's something that does need to be learned and actually like not sensationalized, but studied, and it should be understood.
Right. Yeah, and I
Um,
mean, what is it? Yeah, and don't think it was because, like, it was, oh, racist white people or whatever. Because I mean, if what is it? If German, because there was like a lot of anti-German rhetoric too at that time. And I'm sure if people were Americans were able to differentiate between Germans, then German Americans, I think they would have gotten the same treatment.
oh, 100%. Um,
It's
and
just like, yeah, it's the Japanese. They were the easy targets. They were the easiest ones to pick out. Um, and so, yeah, don't think that it can't, that it couldn't happen to you, or just because, like, oh, it's just because they were not white. Even though now that's like coming back around against Asians a lot, where, like, they're Asian Americans are now being accused of benefiting off of white supremacy because we're like the ideal minority, quote unquote.
I mean, if you really think about it, especially well, at that time, yeah, okay, there was segregation in the South. I'm not saying that there wasn't like you know racism. That I mean, obviously that existed. Clearly, but all the people that the black people that lived through that time. It's like, think about it. They had more freedom than any Asian at that time. It was
Yeah.
just like they just threw you guys like in prison and took everything you had, and that was that, and everything was lost. So you had like very wealthy families that like had everything stripped from them, and that was that. Like
Yeah, all
generations
their
worth
their
of just
property, their homes, personal like furniture and and belongings. Yeah, that was all seized by the government.
and if
And
anyone
it
deserves,
wasn't as though that they were like, oh, we're just gonna hold on to it, or we'll definitely keep track of it, and then when everything gets settled, or everything gets resolved, or we win the war, we'll definitely give it back to you. Nah,
no, that
nah,
never
bitches, that
happened.
didn't not. They did not get any of their shit back.
Now, see, if anyone deserves reparations, that's a group that deserves reparations.
Yeah, well, actually, they did. They got some reparations. I think late '90s, early 2000s.
Oh, did
Um,
they? I never heard that. I guess.
yeah, Japanese Americans were given reparations. I forget how much, but yeah, they were given reparations.
I guess there's maybe some justice in that, but the fact that you think that your civil rights can't just be stripped away like that, it happened already. It
Hmm.
happened already, and no one's
Right.
paying attention, and it's gonna happen again. Maybe not necessarily with a particular race, but it's definitely people who think differently from the rest of the social better crowd.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's like, but yeah, it's also but the arrogance of it too. It's like you had like the I forget who. It's like Katie Couric saying like, oh, we have to take away the Republicans' kids and we have to re-educate them. It's like she, like she
Exactly.
like
How?
she literally said that out loud, and she did like I'm not making up the re-education part. Like
Yeah.
or she might have said deprogramming, reprogramming, but
There's
she
that.
used those words. She didn't use like a euphemism, or she didn't like use some flowery language. She said, yeah, we have to take away the children of these Republicans, and we have to like re-educate or reprogram, them.
Still has a job.
Yeah,
Nick
still.
Cannon still has a job. All
Yeah,
these
Nick Cannon said like the craziest shit, like Jewish lasers and like how they control like the weather or whatever. And all he had to do was say, "Oh, my bad," and
and that black people are the true
Darnell gets his
Jews.
Reeboks.
Yeah, and then Nick Cannon, saying how black people are the true Jews, and that black people are more, are supreme because of the melanin in their skin,
Right? Yeah. Oh
and
yeah. And
all
like
white
somehow
people like
compassion is
savages,
linked to melanin in the skin.
which is like, yeah, I was like, still has a
It's like,
job.
well, first, like, yeah, like, and first of all, like, I would like to see the scientific study on that.
There is no, there is no study. It's some like crazy like he's in that. I don't know if he's necessarily a like card carrying member, but like that's the Hebrew Black Israelites,
Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Um, and it just like I said, everything that like you talk about like how there's all these like psyops that are going on out there with just people doing wizardry and all this shit. Like it's happening. Like they're pulling the curtain over your eyes, and then and you're not actually seeing what's really going on.
Hmm. Or they're distracting you, with something
Yeah,
shiny, and not necessarily material, but just like, oh, look at kind of like with the whole like race things, like, oh, look at George Floyd, he's oh, someone's stepping on George Floyd's neck, look at that, look at that, and then as they push this other agenda, of devaluing property, so they could come in and just like come in and like buy it up at for pennies on the dollar. It's not just it's not just the thing that's in front of you. It's not just like they're trying to destroy race relations, but they're also they want to do two things at the same time. So they can destroy race relations and they can buy up property for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, I mean but that's honestly like when I think of this story, I mean that's exactly what I see, and it's gonna come to a point where, yeah, I think that anyone that thinks outside the box, that thinks differently, that believes in the ideology of the United States of America, anyone that
Anyone who
has.
has the temerity to have a differing or unique opinion to what the masters have, they instantly have a target on them.
Yes, sir. So I think that's a different viewpoint. I mean, yeah, we could talk the Nazi thing to death, which I'm
Right.
I'm tired of.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and that's a very good. Yeah, and I'm glad that you were able to think beyond what was presented and actually critically think and bring this other perspective on it, because everyone thinks that it's like everyone thinks that can't happen to them, but so there's so many times that it has already happened.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why, but they always go to this Nazi thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm not minimizing what they did or what they or what atrocities they committed. But it's like,
We're not saying woo Hitler, like, no.
yeah, I'm not going to go out and buy a Hitler stormtroopers jersey. It's like, come on.
Just like I mean, in the way that I kind of sort of find serial killers kind of fascinating, that's about like the level of like interest I have in Hitler.
Right. It's not.
But I'm not.
Yeah. It's not like like for Rob. It's not like he's saying like, yeah, I totally sign off on what Ted Bundy did.
I totally get why Jeffrey Dahmer ate like 60 people.
Yeah. Wait, was he the one that dressed like a clown too?
Oh, that was William H. That was
Gacy.
Gacy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but Dahmer was in the one. Yeah, Dahmer was the one that ate people.
Yeah. The Milwaukee Cannibal.
Mm. Yeah, again, we're not co-signing and we're not saying it's like Jeffrey Dahmer did nothing wrong. We're not we're not saying that.
And same thing. Like Hitler's a dick.
Yeah, exactly. Which is hilarious because because there was like that whole uproar about sport teams and like their names and specifically ones that are named after like American Indians or whatever. But it's like he's like, you don't name things after what you hate.
Exactly.
Like the Apache helicopter. You don't call you don't name it you don't name a helicopter an Apache because you hate Indians.
They were a brutal tribe.
Right? They're a fearsome enemy. A fearsome enemy. And you wanted to somehow imbue that thing with that spirit.
It's like Batman. I want people to fear the thing that I fear.
Yeah, it's like, I want people to be as afraid of bats as I am. Let's see, it's like, that's why there's no what was it? That's why there's no sports team like the Houston Hitlers.
Yeah, exists.
Or the Seattle Stormtroopers or
the Lincoln Lenins.
Yeah.
Though that could happen at some point. Who knows?
I know who knows.
But no, you don't like. No one's gonna be like, yeah, go Hitlers. It's just not gonna happen. Maybe in like that Man on the High Castle show that was on Amazon, but like that's just not gonna happen in real life.
Yeah, and and that's why car companies they don't what is it? They don't name cars after weak things like like the new Ford Gerbil.
Well,
or they don't describe things completely accurately. Oh, the Ford piece of shit. Get your Ford piece of shit, at your local Ford dealer today. No, it doesn't work.
No, they'll just call it the tempo, and it's
Touche, touche.
yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah, again, you don't name things, you don't name things after the things you hate, or the thing that you're trying to mock. And actually, interestingly enough, like the Cleveland Indians, they're, how I don't know if we discussed this, but do you know like how they became like the Cleveland Indians?
this I don't think I actually know. This would be more of a question for Dan. He might know this better than me.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know the exact history of like the franchise or whatever, but the Cleveland Indians, how they got their name and their logo, the smiling Indian, was because like one of the greatest players that ever played for them was an Indian, a Native American.
No kidding.
Yeah. And like the owner thought like, oh man, to honor him, we're gonna call our team the Indians, to and then and the reason why he's smiling is like because he wanted to impart the joy of the sport, or like the or something good, not necessarily like, oh, because like all Indians have these big cheesy grins. No, it was like because he wanted to have something that that uh, imparted happiness and joy on other people when they saw it.
Yeah, and I
It's like
did not.
when I read that, it's like, God, what a monster.
Yeah. Oh man, he must really hate those damn Indians.
Yeah, no, he hated. Yeah, he for sure hated those damn Redskins. Um, but yeah, and a weird, yeah, and it's like so, like it's people, like of course people aren't gonna go dig that far deep into it, into the history or whatever.
And,
Um,
and guess who
but
doesn't care
also,
about the names of sports teams?
oh yeah,
About
the Indians, they don't care. They don't care, and also it's in a weird way, it it's an erasure of them as well. They like them like demanding that the teams like change their names or whatever. It's an erasure. You're erasing them. You know.
yeah,
You're saying, oh, how dare they name this team after Indians or whatever. Okay, well they're gone. It's like good, they're gone. That's great. That's exactly what I want. It's like,
well,
wait, you want them gone? It's like, yeah, no, it was very offensive. So that's why it had to be go away. It's like, well, you're effectively erasing them. They are having no representation. It's like the whole thing with the Land O'Lakes butter lady. It was like this. Is it like Native American squaw or whatever? And it's like, okay, we have to get rid of that. It's like, well, okay, no more Indians.
yeah. Well, I mean, they're just like left to die out on the reservation, which
Yeah,
is
exactly.
a travesty.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just like people like are demanding socialism. Like, yeah, like if you want to see like an actual case study of like people, literal people being taken care of their entire lives, look at Native Americans.
yeah,
Like this, like top down government control. The government gives you everything. I mean, not well, they provide for you. Okay, the
it's like
government provides for them.
it's just thrown at them, and like it's just like, but it's also like kind of very hands off, like because they are essentially separate nations.
Right.
Um, but then obviously like we talked about Wind River, and which that episode hasn't aired yet, but we've talked about it on several occasions, and
Mm-hmm.
that movie is really talking about like some of the travesties that happen on Indian reservations, and it's
Mm-hmm.
really, I mean, it's really disheartening what happens on those. And there's a ton of people that are a lot of churches that have been doing long-term mission work at these places,
Mm-hmm.
and hell, even I just recently watched the sequel to the original True Grit, Rooster Cogburn,
Mm-hmm.
and the female lead in there, played by Katharine Hepburn. Her and her dad are essentially trying to like uh, they're helping out the Indians, to because this is like right around the time like where a lot of these treaties are being made as giving them like parcels of land and stuff, and it just they're pretty much like in living in squalor, except for like the few people that actually like supersede these things and like actually help them, and don't let them like just live in their own filth um and their kind of just this wayward life where everything's handed to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, we literally have a case study in government assistance, like government just like running everything in your life.
And I mean,
American
it's like,
Indians.
right. And if you want to like look see how like socialist healthcare works, just go to the VA. I mean, like,
Yeah, I mean
is
that's
anyone?
essentially what it is.
I mean, we have one of my friends who I'm not gonna I have a lot of veteran friends, and I have one of them that's gonna be suing the VA because I mean they fucked him big time,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, like it's deserved.
Hmm. Oh yeah, the David, right?
Well, I wasn't gonna name names, but
Oh, whoops. Um, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, his name is not David. But yeah. Yeah, yeah. So people keep clamoring for these things. There was like the travesty over like that one guy at the VA who was like writhing in pain like on the floor and not being helped. Uh, like it was a few years ago, but like a video came out of like this guy, this old man, like he was a veteran and he went to the VA to get help, and like he ended up just like lying on the floor for hours like writhing in pain, and like no one like no one coming to like help him, or no doctor came and like, oh, what's going on, checking in on him. um
it's a travesty. Like I have so many friends that have been injured in combat overseas, that have had so many like physical, psychological problems, and the VA has now I don't want to target like necessarily like the people that work for the VA, because there are some good people that work there that try to make a difference, but there's only so much people can do, where that just the choking bureaucratic way of it, it's like it's just there's no one man can overcome that. And I felt like the one of the strengths of the Trump presidency was he was starting to eliminate a lot of that bureaucracy in the VA,
mm,
and unfortunately, it's going to come back in a massive way with kind of speaking of buyer's remorse,
mm,
um, with the Biden bureaucracy team that he has. So who knows? I mean, I can just see it getting just much much worse. It not only reverting back to what it was, but just getting way worse.
mm. Well, yeah, that's a okay. Well, then let's transition here and uh, talk about the buyer's remorse. In that, uh, Trump again has been acquitted of the charge of
2-0.
2-0, back to back impeachment champions. Yeah, he was acquitted of the charge of incitement to insurrection or erection, quoting Schumer.
Yeah,
Incitement to erection.
yeah. He that whole thing. Honestly, like I am. The whole thing is ridiculous, and the the Republican senators who even voted,
Yeah,
that
guilty.
were voted guilty on that, they should be primaried immediately
Oh yeah,
the
I mean,
very next election.
in this week's case of buyer's remorse, it's not just because of Joe Biden, but it's also because of the uh, just in general the elected officials, like in especially I guess now in these seven Republican rhinos essentially. Um, and like I think they represent like at least two of them represent like in like the really deep entrenched like establishment types
Oh yeah,
like Mitt Romney and Liz Cheney.
the Lincoln Project Republicans.
Which amazing. Everything. It's so funny. It's like the Trump curse where like they keep going after him, but it's just like revealing more shit about themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
Because they keep trying to get Trump with like, oh, he's such an awful person. He slept with prostitutes and he cheated the government. It's like, dude,
he
that makes
never lied about that stuff.
yeah, but and it's weird in a weird way. It kind of makes him awesome too. It's like, dude, like this guy, banged porn stars and cheated the government out of money. Like, dude, that's fucking that's a fucking gangster.
Honestly, like because I really could give two craps about his personal life. I mean, that it's his personal life. It's like who I look at like I look at like some of these like people's like where I mean even going back to the like FDR's time in as the president, like him and Eleanor Roosevelt, who oh god she was a dog.
Woof.
I mean, there was a time where like, yeah, they loved each other, certainly, but that fell through like super quick. Like they hated each other at the end. It's like, why stay married at this point? Like, what's the point? Like, it just, what, is it really like that? Because he was banging everybody. Like, I'll give it up to a man in a wheelchair is like just banging everybody pretty much. He was JFK before JFK. And
I want to put. I don't have all the evidence gathered yet, but I want to postulate that FDR wasn't really crippled.
you don't think so? You think it was just
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm having my doubts. Um,
some? I mean, there was. I mean, obviously, there was a time where he was not in a wheelchair, but he did contract polio, and I mean, I'll give him this. Like, if okay, let's say he was crippled, like he made sure to like he didn't want to weak, and so
right, yeah, and I totally get all that. I totally get all that, but yeah, I'm just starting to have suspicions that he wasn't actually crippled.
maybe you're right.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, well, anyways, yeah, I like who cares like about his personal stuff. I mean,
It's just like at that point, it's like why I don't care if the president's like married or like he has if he's banging like 6 women a night like Will Chamberlain like that. Who cares? Is he running the country the way it's meant?
right. I mean, just as a biblical example, King David.
Yeah,
Um,
Solomon too.
Yeah, and Solomon too, and what is it? David was known as a man after God's own heart, and yet he was a philanderer. He didn't commit the murder himself, but he had a man killed so that he can hide the crime of adultery.
Yeah, I mean, both God, those two had a libido like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, freaking Solomon and his like what 2,000 wives or whatever.
God, I mean, it's just nuts.
God, like he must have been like he must have been putting on ointment like crazy because
Will Chamberlain, like
and Will Chamberlain, yeah, like bow down to Solomon. It's like, oh, you the man.
He only wishes like he could like reach Solomon's numbers.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like this. But yeah, getting back to the impeachment stuff. But yeah, all of like, it's like that curse, like them like constantly bringing up his personal stuff is now like working against them because all this stuff of like about their own personal stuff is coming out, like especially like the founder of the Lincoln Project, where he
Stealing kids and shit. Yeah.
Well, yeah, diddling kids, but it's like but then he's like trying to use the shield of being a homo. It's like, oh no, I'm a homo, so
Oh yeah, you pulled this Kevin Spacey.
yeah, he pulled the Kevin Spacey.
Look how well that worked out for Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, exactly. It's like yeah, the left will only tolerate so much. It's like yeah, you can be a homo, you just can't diddle kids.
There's come a time where that's not going to be a problem anymore.
I know, like it's like it's yeah, I know, like the general trend is leaning that way, where like they won't even give a shit that they're diddling kids anymore. But
Daniel thinks that like I'm making up some like Alex Jones conspiracy, but it's like, no, Dan, it's happening. It's happening right now. I guarantee within 5 years, you're gonna add a P to the alphabet soup that is that the LGBT.
I think there already is a P, but yeah, this P will be pedophilia.
Yeah,
the newest P will be pedophilia. Yeah, and it's like, dude,
it's like
yeah, I mean, just 4 years ago, like Salon and and all like these left wing rags, they were
that fucked up TED Talk that we
that fucked up TED Talk that they put out saying like, it's like, oh, like he's like sexually attracted to minors, but he's never acted on it, so it's okay. He's a good he's a good pedophile. It's like, what?
I had chills running down my spine listening to that freak show lady.
Yeah. Like she was like, yeah, she was so steady in her delivery, just talking about like, oh, Teddy feels, is attracted to people, but just not the ones that society deems it's okay to be attracted to. And just like, what? It's like, yes, Teddy is attracted to minors. Like, huh? It's like, but Teddy never acted on his, urges, so that makes him one of the good ones. It's like.
And what was it? There was that news piece or like article that was written about this one guy who was talking about his like he's attracted to like young boys or girls. I can't remember which one. And like but I don't touch them. I just think about it. It's like, wow, you're a hero. Are you fucking kidding me? You should be like shot in the middle of the street and like we should dance in celebration.
Yeah.
You're a freak.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think, well, because Dan, he's not as connected to like all this cultural stuff as we are. Um, so maybe give him a pass. Maybe give him a pass, but it's like but we're like us telling him like no, it's happening now. Like the normalization of pedophilia is happening now. It's been in the works. They're like the like 4 years ago, that was just a test run to see like how. Now, you know what? Thinking about it now, Kevin Spacey might have been also a test run to see like how well it, them to have it kind of linked to like the LGBT thing. Wait, what?
Well, it's like Kevin Spacey is just like another like Harvey Weinstein or like any of these other like crazies that have weird sexual proclivities. Like it's this open secret that everyone kind of like mocks, makes fun of, and it's like, oh, it's a it's a funny thing. But then like when it actually like happens and they need to like throw a sacrificial lamb onto the fire, it's like, well, we'll give him Kevin Spacey.
Well, see, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's a test run. It's just seeing how it's them, basically testing the waters. It's like, is society ready for this? So of course, they give him Kevin Spacey. It's like, oh well, Kevin Spacey, yeah, he tried to get with like a 14-year-old, but he's gay though. But he's gay. So like they're trying to link it to like the whole LGBT thing, but back 4 years ago they still weren't ready. They still weren't ready for that. So like, oh no, okay. So sorry Kevin Spacey, but it's like we'll give you we'll promise we'll you won't get ass raped, or maybe you want that, we'll basically so yeah,
right.
So that was like the first test run. But now it's like they're constantly putting it out there. I mean, freaking what's it? Then they decided to go the other direction with like the whole drag kids thing.
Oh.
with like
Man.
that kid Desmond or whatever, and then like fucking I think it was RuPaul, but RuPaul had a show, where it was just like him and like this minor child traveling the country, doing these drag shows. It was just
Cuties, another one.
what was that?
Cuties on Netflix.
Oh yeah, Cutie. See, that's exactly. First they're trying to go like the adult, like part of like the LGBT thing, but that wasn't necessarily flying. But then like, oh, we'll do another route. We'll do it through the kids. Oh, the kids want to do this, so you have to accept it because the kids want to do this. And so yeah, they found like a little bit more success with that. Um, but yeah, next stop is gonna be full on pedophilia, and if you don't accept it, then you're somehow anti-LGBT.
Yeah, it's just. Hey, but hey, you know what? You over Biden, like this is and this is stuff like, well, I don't want any of this. Like, well, these are the same. These are the people that are pressing this type of stuff. Like, it's just this bureaucratic that it's like, well, we're just we're progressives. We're progressive. I don't want to progress to that. It's like, there's a time where we can actually stop. It's like, no, we're progressives.
Yeah, no, it's like they never say like, oh, like we progressed this much and that's enough. It's like, no, as progressive, you have to constantly progress. Like, to what, I don't know. Um, but an interesting observation I was made aware of recently is the idea that change is associated with good.
It's not always.
No, of course not. Like, just as a low stakes example, look at New Coke. They changed the formula of Coke, and everyone hated that shit.
I heard that was a stunt. Actually, it was because Coke was about the Pepsi, and
Right.
so like, hey, let's just let's gin up some like something that's
right. It's like it was like the whole left Twix, right Twix thing. Yeah. I could see them doing that. But
because
yeah, they changed. They supposedly changed the recipe for Coke, but like some people who had it, they're like, it tastes exactly the same, and other people are like, no, they completely changed it, it's ruined.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they changed it, and they're like, and there was such okay, and they went back to the Coca-Cola Classic. Mm-hmm. Obviously it's not that anymore. I mean, it's just now Coca-Cola, but there was a good decade and a half of Coca-Cola Classic, and it's like, oh, good. This is what I remember. And Coke sales went to the fucking roof. It's it's still Pepsi. It always will be. It always was. And
I prefer Coke to Pepsi too. I just it has that bite that Pepsi doesn't have, and I really like that bite. And yes, I know it's basically brown. It's carbonated brown corn syrup, but I still love it.
And then the Mexican Coke, then you stuff.
Oh yeah.
Which is what
I'm okay with that. All right, people, I'm okay.
And that's why I always tend to try to go for the glass bottle Coke, because that's what Coke was always like, kind of was.
Mm-hmm.
And goddamn, it's
good. But what is it? Yeah, those 7 Republicans, they're done. They're done. They're gonna get primaried. Their political futures are dull. Their prospects are not good.
No. And I certainly. I mean, and you're gonna find, wow, we have a strange new. You're gonna hear in the media, I have a strange new respect for so and so. It's like.
Oh right.
And that, like I said, it's kabuki theater. That's exactly what those quote unquote Republicans do. It's just they're the court jesters to the leftist, media government.
Right. Yeah. It's like when CNN praises Fox. Something's up. You know something's up. There was like Brian Stelter. He defended the decisions desk guy, for the elections. It's like, oh well, no, I know that guy. Yeah, he's actually, he's a good man. He's a good man. He's a fair man. So when CNN is, just like how when CNN is defending Fox, something's up. And so when you hear Democrats defending certain Republicans, something is up. That's the uniparty, though. They're from the same party. They just decide, they just have different letters in front of their names.
Yeah.
After their names.
I mean, that's kind of like what the Justice Democrats are trying to do is like, it wasn't just kind of casting these people into is like into the Congress or judgeships and DA things, but like it wasn't just Democrats that they were gonna put in like their Republican banner as well that were essentially the same thing, but because they had an R in front of their name, it's like, oh well, the Republicans are gonna vote for them ways, but then we'll get our policies in.
Yeah, no, it was exactly. I think I told you this. I don't know if I ever recounted this on the stream or the podcast, but there was that person. I forget, like in Vermont or something. They ran as a Republican, but they were like a non-binary dragonkin socialist. But because they had an R after their name, people just voted for that person, and they won. Just because they had an R by their name. So it's like, it goes both ways. We're equal opportunity shit talkers over here.
Yeah.
And as often as we'll shit on Democratic voters, it's like, oh, let's just vote for anyone with a D after their name. It's the same is true for Republicans.
Yeah.
I'm honest about it because because I'm able to be self-critical and I'm able to hold my own side accountable, even though technically or officially I don't belong to either of the parties. I'm an unaffiliated voter. I'm an ideas guy, so I just follow whoever has the best ideas. And if one day, if a sane, rational Democrat ever came up and was running for something, I could see myself voting for that person.
Hold your breath, Andy.
I know, but I'm just leaving the door open. Because again, options.
Yep.
Buyer's remorse. I mean, it's not, and it's just not about, and it's not just Biden either. It's all, it's every elected official. I mean, even I have buyer's remorse because I accidentally voted for George Gaskin, the fucking the fucking socialist George Soros backed DA of Los Angeles, because I literally didn't know. I try to do my due diligence, and I was like looking for shit.
Information on him until like the last second.
No, exactly. I didn't find any information on him until after I cast my vote. And then I had, it was funny because someone who voted for Biden who had buyer's remorse said like, oh, I felt sick to my stomach, and I relate to that because that's the same feeling I had when when I found out all the information about George Gaskin.
Right. Well, I do my slow clap in jest, Andy. I know you didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah, it wasn't malicious or it wasn't willful.
I understand your thinking. It's like, well, the one that we have sucks, so I'll roll the dice and go with the other one. It's like it's not like it's like between Gaston was running as a Republican, because it wasn't.
Because the fucking system in California is so messed up.
There's no Republican in California anymore. I mean, it's like it's a losing ticket. No matter
I
where
mean,
you're at.
yeah, I mean, honestly, yes. Yeah, because the whole election system in California is fucked up too, because it's like it's no longer where like the party system where it's like, oh, like someone from this party has to be represented and someone from this party has to be represented, but it's just whoever has the most and the second most votes gets to be on the ticket. And guess what happens? It's usually Democrats. So the Democrat with the most votes get to be on the ticket, and the Democrat with the second most votes get to be on the ticket. So that's why you have that's why you have when you vote sometimes for sometimes the same position, but it's like it's two from the same party. That's why.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like we really have no choice in this state at all.
Yeah. So yeah, the California has completely been hijacked, completely been retooled. So like no Republican can ever win. I'm really hoping that's not the case because the recall efforts it's really close. Like they already there are I think there are last time I checked I think they're already at the 1.5 million signatures required. Um, but of course they're gonna try and go for. They still have until March 17th, I believe. So like
in the right direction. I'll just say that.
yeah, so they have about a month left. But yeah, but to be safe, they should get 2 million votes because for some reason they all of a sudden want to do voter or signature verifications.
Oh wow! It's where that would have worked great in.
Yeah, the presidential election.
Oh, imagine that.
Yeah, it's like weird how all of a sudden the Democrats they want to have signature verification.
Voter ID, all the
Yeah,
stuff. Like,
yeah, right. They for some reason like they want to make sure the people who signed the petition are who they say they are, and that they're legally able to vote. Huh?
that's racist.
Huh? I know that's so racist, guys. Come on. Don't you know signature verification is racist? How dare you? But but yeah, but I know even as stacked as California is, like I'm still willing to roll the dice on Newsom.
Yeah, you know what? It's like it can't get much worse.
I mean, it could, but I'd rather be optimistic about our chances.
But it could get better.
Yeah, exactly, because it could get worse, but it could get better. That's what I'm riding on. That's what I'm putting my hopes into. It could get better.
It's not like survival insurance. Like I'll take that ride. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'm taking an informed step. All right. I don't like how this governor, this Patrick Bateman is running our state, and I'm willing.
Patrick Bateman won't. He is just killing people left and right.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I'm willing to roll the dice. I'm willing to roll the dice.
It's figurative.
Yeah, figurative, Susan. Figurative. But yeah, I'm willing to roll the dice on this one, especially if we can get some strong either centrist or right-leaning candidates. The more practical, the one I'd be willing to vote for more practically would be the former mayor of San Diego.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's been doing a good. He did a good job as mayor. Like he lowered the homeless rate by like double digits.
Yeah.
So if he's able to bring that to Sacramento, that'd be great.
But yeah.
Yeah, but my ultimate fantasy pick would be Larry Elder.
Yes, I would agree with that. I don't want to run though.
Yeah, I know. I would. Yeah, like.
I think he's happy with what he's doing. I think he feels
yeah,
like
he'd rather be he's much more. Yeah, he's much more content with being like a cultural cultural behind the scenes like influencer guy. And I think and I don't blame him. I mean that's kind of what we're trying to be. But yeah, like if he ever had the inclination to run for governor or any sort of elected, dude, if he ran for mayor of LA, I totally vote for him.
1,000%.
Yeah, I mean, because he's a known quantity and his message has remained consistent throughout the decades, so that's like a no-brainer pick for me.
That guy he is one of the smartest men that I know, but he's not the social better crowd. He
Right.
wants to better everyone. He feels like he wants to empower people.
Right. He's a tide lifts all boats type of person.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also like this Indian guy. He's like he's a tech guy, and he is a Democrat, but he has some really interesting ideas.
Honestly, at this point, like even if we move to like something like centrist, that would be a breath of fresh air.
True. Yeah, but because like one of his proposals is doing away with the sales tax.
Oh God, please! It's getting. I mean, what is it? The sales tax is like what now in California is like almost like what 10% now.
Almost 10%. Yeah, it's like 9.75 or 9.5 or 9.75.
Plus, on top of like the state taxes that we already pay,
right?
It's getting to the point where we're paying like 60-some%, both federally and statewide. And then let's throw on a sales tax and all this other like taxes. Like we have no money.
Yeah, no,
it's
like,
getting,
yeah.
And California's like they're just putting it in like in these special interest groups pockets and all these bureaucrats pockets that
or giving it away to illegal aliens or giving it away to jailed inmates.
We had like the streets were paved with gold and everyone was living the high life here and that's what they're being used for. Cool. It's like I'll pay taxes if that's what if it's actually being used in the correct way. But we have potholed bullshit streets that have not been. I can't tell you
repaved or resurfaced. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many like main streets that like one street out here in particular, Victory, has so many fucking potholes. Like, and they fill them up, just so that they can be like, and then they sink back in.
Right, because all they do is patchwork. They do patchwork. They don't do like a complete they don't tear up the road and then like repave it. They just do patchwork.
No. It's bullshit.
Agreed.
But that's just like one example of like tens of thousands of streets that are fucked beyond belief that need to be just overhauled and like repaved, but they'll never fucking do it.
No, of course not. No, of course not. Because we have to pay for all the gender reassignment surgeries.
Seems more important to me.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. Come on, Robert. Follow the science.
Oh. Well, speaking of science, we'll have to talk about the schlock that I made you watch at some point a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh God. Jeez. You're a fucking sadist.
Speaking of schlock, though, like you made me watch some now entertaining schlock, but schlock nonetheless.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Your schlock is just you're just being an asshole. But my schlock was at least entertaining, and there are titties.
Hey, sometimes my schlock has tits.
When was the last time your schlock had tits? Yeah, exactly. Shut the fuck up.
Maybe Harley Davidson and the Marble Man. I want to think there were tits there.
I don't think so. I can't recall. Not. Anyways, all right. With all that belly aching out of the way, let's get into our movie review for tonight, and that is Striptease again. starring Demi Moore, and this movie was very stacked. Like Armand Assante, Ving Rhames, Robert Patrick,
At the time of fading Burt Reynolds, but like he was still
oh yeah,
man.
yeah, and Burt Reynolds, and a then still young Willis, her daughter.
Was that was her? That oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
her.
Hmm.
I knew because she's been used in several films like when she was a kid. I remember that.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh man, I knew I recognized that girl, and I couldn't place it.
Mm. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure too until I went back and checked the cast list, and it's like, oh yep, that was Rumor Willis. So yeah, let me hit everyone with the synopsis, and we'll get this thing going. When her ex-husband gets custody of their daughter, former FBI office assistant Erin Grant needs money to fight the legal case to get her child back. As a result, she takes a job dancing at the Eager Beaver strip club in Miami, where she befriends that's the best name for a strip club I've ever heard. Where she befriends an imposing bouncer named Shad. Unfortunately, she also becomes an object of obsession for politician David Dilbeck, who gets what he wants through charm and violence. And what he wants is Aaron.
Oh man, this movie has all the elements of being a great movie, but isn't.
Right?
Uh,
It falls just short of being good.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Demi Moore, who was a especially at the time, an A-list actress. Like I mean, she. Yeah, I was telling you before we started the stream. The budget for this movie was $50 million, and a good portion of the budget went to her salary, and they paid her $12.3 million to be in this movie.
Yeah.
But the other actors are not slouches either. I mean, yeah, Burt Reynolds at this point was not.
Yeah, his star power is on the decline. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah. This was not a Deliverance Burt Reynolds. Well, and mustacheless Burt Reynolds to boot, which is just like so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, but then you have Robert Patrick, who was obviously made really famous from Terminator 2.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot. He's done other like bit parts, and he was in the X Files for a time. Um, Ving Rhames, who's been in many movies, a great character actor. I'll be honest, I do not. He looks familiar, but I don't know much about Armand Assante.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of stuff. I can't. The most, at least the most notable thing that I remember him from the '90s was he was in Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone.
Was he now? Okay, so
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. So
Hold on. Let me. Yeah. Let me. Really quickly see some. Let's see. Yeah, he's had a long. His credits go back to like the '70s.
well, 71 years old, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Damn, he actually it's a lot of bit parts, but like yeah, and he's not been nominated for Golden Globe. So I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff. I didn't know that he was in Judge, and I haven't seen that. So I mean, he has like quite the career.
Yeah.
And, just one of those guys that
Oh
puts
yeah,
his
he was also an American Gangster. He played the Italian mob boss that Denzel
he was
needs.
also in the television film in Gotti. He was
Mm-hmm.
John Gotti.
Right.
Um, so I mean, he it's like I said, just puts his nose to the grindstone, and he's just it works, which is great. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with. I like a lot of those type of actors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Uh, like I said, this I think this movie could have been. I would have rather this been either like full on comedy which it would have been great, or full on kind of like a dark, kind of almost political, drama. Uh, and it just but it tried to do both, and I think it failed in both. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's funny moments, and there was a good time during the film where I was like, what is the point?
Right. Yeah.
I wasn't quite getting the point. I mean, obviously, after about midway through the first act, it kind of started oh, okay, I see where they're going with this now. And I didn't realize this was a book either, which book
Yeah,
is,
neither did I, but shouldn't be too surprised.
Yeah, I mean, the book is from what I've read, not read of the book because I don't own it and I didn't read it, but from what I read about the book is that it's actually a little bit darker than what we get in the movie. Yeah. And I'm kind of glad that they kind of went their own direction a little bit with it.
Yeah, they had a lighter they went a lighter route with it.
But yeah, I just felt like it didn't really hit on, they call it an erotic black comedy. The erotic part was there. I'll give it that.
This is true.
If you like watching movies with strip clubs, this is your movie, because man, you get a lot of strip club action.
Yeah. But I always have a problem with the depiction of strip clubs in movies, or even TV, because it's wholly not how they have it depicted.
Oh no, I mean it's. I was saying the way that the men are portrayed in this movie is just comical, like how bad it is. It's no. First of all, I mean, are there guys like that? Yeah, but not in the numbers.
Right. Yeah. It's not it's for some reason they always make it seem like men are these idiot hooting and hollering idiots, and they're constantly shouting their bravados out at the strippers or whatever. But it's kind of like how Gavin McInnes described men at a strip club. It's almost like they're at church. It's they're very quiet. They're very respectful, and and they the most that they do is clap.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and sure, there might be some whistling at the end, but they're from what now I've never been to a strip club, but yeah, it's not what we see in Striptease, and it's just there. What was the well, he ended up getting killed. What the hell was his name?
The Jerry character.
Jerry, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yo, I think I knew where you were going.
Guys that are there are more like Jerry. Jerry's there
just
enjoying the show, kind of a creep, but he's
pretty much harmless. Yeah.
He's harmless. He's respectful. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like the distant ancestor of the current simps, as I like to.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember you asking me this, in our text conversations, where it's is Jerry a simp? And and I argued that he's not, because he's at the very least there in person, and technically when he goes to offer his assistance to Demi Moore's character situation with her kid, that's technically him shooting a shot.
I'll say this too, also in Jerry's defense, he doesn't expect anything. See, where the simps are
right.
they're the white knights, and they're thinking oh, this is for me.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Jerry knows that he's wasting his money, but he does it. I mean, and I don't know what Jerry does for a living, but
right.
I mean, the guy is there every fucking day. He must make a lot of fucking money.
Yeah.
And he's willing to waste it because, hey, you know what? Kind of a geek, kind of a weirdo, but I'll go to the strip club and I'll treat these ladies right.
Right. Yeah. So he's mostly harmless, or he is harmless. Yeah,
Yeah.
whereas opposed to like nowadays these online simps where they actually think that they have a relation. One of the greatest ones that I just happened to hear about like watching YouTube and stuff like other YouTube commentators. There's this one model like type person on the internet, and she amassed like a really big following, and one of her like fans or whatever like would always go to the mat for her and be like always defend her. And I think he was like a moderator for like the chat whenever she went like whenever she did live stream and stuff, and anyone
Yeah.
being he's basically the Shad character for her.
Right.
Like kicking out disrespectful commenters, and or like the whole when whenever someone called uh, the girls strippers, he'd be like dancers, asshole, and like kind of threaten.
You know what? I did like Shad. He was probably my favorite character in the movie.
Shad was he was like he was the most likable character in the movie. But yeah, like he like this simp would kind of do those kind of things, and then it turns out this person or this model person was married and had a husband, and then when
Oh,
he
was it that Pokimane chick?
no, but yeah, she like yeah that but she's a story for another time, but
There was something like that similar with her too.
yeah. But yeah, but like he found out that she had like a husband, and it's like, oh, how could you do that? I spent all this money on you, and I defended you in the chat, and and I helped you moderate the chat to like keep all like the assholes out, and it's like, oh, it's like how could you do this to me? And it's just like, oh, that is
Yeah.
the risk. That is the risk you take when you try to start a relationship with someone online. Um, So yeah, for like the Jerry character, I can see why you would categorize him as a simp, but I don't necessarily categorize him as a simp.
I kind of see. I mean, he is he a creep. Oh, 100%.
Oh
But
yeah. Oh yeah, I worship like the whole line is like, oh, I worship your essence.
yeah,
It's
it's
like,
like.
oh God, get away from me.
But you know I'll say this about him is like the guy had the money. He knew he knew he wasn't getting anything.
Right.
And he knew like but he was there in person. At least he was getting something out of it. Like he
Right. Yeah.
wasn't just
And again, like him approaching Aaron to and try to not solicit, but offer his services to help her with her custody battle. That's technically him shooting his shot. So
that.
I give Jerry
Well,
credit for that.
like and Aaron, like she like kept defending him. It's like no, he's a good guy. Like yeah. I mean, he's here every day, and but like you guys think he's creepy, but he's just a nice guy. And I think that's true, to be honest. Like I don't think
Yeah.
Jerry was not going to do anything to anybody.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I mean,
He's kind of like the shy version of Shad. If he had the strength and like the kind of like what
yeah,
like
and the presence, that Shad had, then yeah, I think he'd be Firstly, I don't think he would have been at the strip clubs. He would have probably had himself a girlfriend or a wife.
that's probably true too.
Yeah. But even like if he had more confidence than he did and less confidence than he had than Shad, then yeah, maybe he could have gotten maybe he could have started something.
But yeah, so like I said, it's definitely like you. It's not quite the simp culture. But it just the whole movie kind of was like, oh god, like the way that the men are portrayed, I was like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, it's exact. I mean, yeah, 'cause in my time, I have been to a strip club, here and there. But it's it's exactly how Gavin McInnes describes it. It's none of the men are like hooting and hollering or trying to grab at the dancers. They're like they stay in their seats. They're they sit in silence and watch politely, and and on occasion make it rain, or lay up their offerings as it were, and
Yeah. They enjoy the Twin Towers in peace, and then they clap, politely.
Yeah,
and
if that, like, because it's like, it's like that. It's like the atmosphere is like, it's that quiet and that respectful. It's just like, it's not even. It's like sometimes it's just like a,
yeah.
like. But
it's a golf clap. It's a golf clap. It's like you're watching.
Yeah, it's a golf clap. It's a golf clap.
Now I will say that as Burt Reynolds' character, David Dilbeck, the congressman, I believe that. Like I think that shit actually happens.
Well, interesting enough, because again, I didn't read the book, but I did read about the book, and the character of Congressman Dilbeck is actually based off an actual Florida congressman who actually did have a reputation for to go into strip clubs, and he did get himself into trouble by getting into a fight in a strip club. Yeah, an actual Florida congressman that David Dilbeck is, I guess, based on.
But then even like some of the other like stuff that like his character does during the movie, like has like the guy steal Aaron's hot lint.
Yeah, dryer lint. Yeah, dryer lint.
Yeah, which he like masturbated to, like with he vaselined his entire body.
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, and then wore a cowboy hat, a leather vest, and cowboy boots, which he filled with the Vaseline.
I was like, oh my god.
I don't know why, but like for some reason, like because the way Burt Reynolds crafted this character, it's so funny because he's kind of endearing, but then he's also kind of this weird nut job.
Yeah, well, I mean, and rightfully so. Like his aide and like his right hand man is like, you sick fuck.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
And they know like what they're getting themselves into. Well, at first I thought like initially like when they first go into the strip club, it's like keep the car close, like real close,
like very close.
Maybe he was like not necessarily like a government official, but like maybe he was a CEO.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, this is my dad. I don't. I'm afraid he's gonna break a hip, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And but no, it turns out obviously he's a congressman. But it's just like, oh my god, like let's say if they had this as like Bill Clinton, it's like, yeah, I believe this is something that Bill Clinton would have done, like 100%.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and yeah.
Assuming that David Dilbeck was probably a Democrat.
No, he was a Republican.
Well, they portrayed him as a Republican, but it's like that's.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because the whole thing was, when what is it? When Jerry went to go and try to get the congressman to kind of press on the judge for Aaron's custody case, he said, "Oh, that judge won't listen to me. He's a Democrat."
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that part.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate. But anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, this movie, yeah, it's like it tried to do too many things where it's like, I think, it's like kind of crime mystery and then like political intrigue, but like the veneer of like this lighthearted comedy just I think ruined it.
Too much was trying. You're right. It could have been a great film if it chose one of those genres, but it tried to do all of them at the same time, and it failed on all fronts. The other thing that like kind of bothered me a little bit too is like the relationship between Lieutenant Garcia, played by Armand Asante, and Aaron. A little bit weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was weird because son of a bitch. It is immediately established that he had a wife and kid, but what was it? But like they would have when they were interacting, like when he was like debriefing her, or he was trying to get more information for the case. There was almost like this very sweet kind of, maybe they're trying to go for like protective father figure, but it kind of came off as like romantic and
Or like
creepy.
trying to fuck her vibes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, they like maybe maybe they're trying to go for protective father, but it came out like yeah, I want to bang you right here.
Yeah. And I like every moment there was like times like where they would talk is like, oh, they're gonna fuck right here.
I know, and
And
it's like, yeah, it's like, and then they kiss. It's
yeah,
like, oh, and then they kiss.
and it never happened. I was like, I'm kind of disappointed. Like I was like, I my wife at that moment was like, why aren't they kissing yet? It's
Yeah,
like
no, yeah, but again, it's like it's one of those weird kind of mishandled things where it's like you establish Garcia as this family man, but then put him in these situations where it could be construed as romantic interest.
this is also like the least sexual movie that there is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly.
There's like no hot sex scene. There's no. I mean, yeah, there's the strip club, sure. Like we see tits and you know about everything,
Yeah, TNA. Yeah, we
but
see TNA, but it's like, yeah, this is not a very like sexual movie.
but I was never aroused once in this movie at all.
No,
Don't
I
get me
mean,
wrong, Demi Moore looks great, and hell, even some of the side her the other strippers, like I mean, they didn't
yeah,
look bad either. But like it's
the
not like
coworkers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm sorry, Aaron, kind of a bad mom. Bring your kid to a fucking strip club.
Right, yeah, it's like, and then she's like surprised, aghast that her daughter saw her dance. Like, you brought her to fucking work.
And
Like,
don't
what,
get me wrong,
what were you expecting?
Daryl was no better. I mean, he's like,
Right. Yeah, and again, I told you, like, he was like so cartoonishly bad. It's like, it defies all logic that
oh yeah.
that the judge ought to have given him custody.
Well, and that's why that's the part like right immediately like, where I suspended disbelief is like there is no fucking way in the world that any court in the United States would give anything to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
A, because he's a man, and B,
Right. And what was it like because he was an informant for like the police. Uh, yeah, give the guy who's an informant because he's a crook.
Jeffrey
Cus-
Epstein is not.
yeah, custody of this child, as opposed to the wife who's this who works. Yeah, she's not an agent, but to work at the FBI, she had to have gone through
Like screenings
yeah,
and
rigorous
like
screenings and background checks. I mean, she ultimately lost that job because of her husband. But initially, she passed the check from the FBI.
hell, Aaron. In reality, Aaron had been doing the shit that Daryl was doing, like roles been reversed, and they still would have given custody to Aaron.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
That's the thing that was like, there's no way that has maybe like it happened in like the 1890s. There's no fucking way 96, much less today. Because I
yeah,
know
no,
people.
exactly. Yeah. Wait, what was
It
that?
is not like that. I have that have gone through or currently through battles, and it is not like that at all. Let me
Right.
tell you, the guy every
Well,
time.
even granted that this movie takes place in Florida, not California. I don't imagine it the family courts being all that lenient toward or fighting in favor of fathers very, very often.
No, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. So yeah, another reason why yeah. And also like I don't know what stripper goes by their actual given name.
That's the other thing that was like, I mean, everyone else had like all these nicknames. Like you had Monique Jr.,
Yeah.
which was that was like she, and then you had the Twin Towers or like Urbana Sprawl. I mean, actual like nicknames. Like, no, I just came up with Aaron. And that's the name. Yeah. So everyone's gonna know that you're an idiot.
Yeah, so she's like worrying about like, oh, the judge if the judge finds out, it's like, bitch, you're using your actual name.
You're a dumbass.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't deserve. Honestly, Dale and her do not deserve custody of their daughter. She probably
Maybe
should have gone
not.
to her.
That's what. Yeah, that's why. That's like the joke of like all of all strippers where it's like they have like these ridiculous names. This is like I was like, all right, gentlemen, let's give it up for Cinnamon.
Yeah.
Or
Or like where Shad is like thugs about how like, oh yeah, you see anybody like famous like well before they were famous like like yeah, Meryl Streep, Jessie LaFrance. I was like, I was like, yes, thank you, Ving Rhames saving the movie.
Adding just like the tiny bit of credibility with like the whole like dancer name. It's like yes.
Oh, dude. Chad saved the movie for me. Like I love his character. Most of the stars that I'm giving to this movie are Shad.
Okay, the movie might have been bloated a bit because of all the kind of the side stories that were going on. Like like Shad was trying to defraud this yogurt company.
See, I want a side, kind of like I want a spin-off movie where it's just Shad's life as a bouncer.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, that'd be something to watch. Cause Shad was like the saving grace of this movie. Wait, what was that?
I don't know the Shad film.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Still there?
I'm still here.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, the way that the movie ended too felt very slapstick, where it's like a Bugs Bunny cartoon where like they trap big bad guys in sugar.
Oh right, yeah. Daryl, Daryl, kind of like in his drug-addled state, tries to make himself a cup of coffee, but he accidentally triggers a mechanism that dumps like all the sugar on top of the bad guys, and then kind of gives like that classic comedy delivery where it's like, I said no sugar, and then and before he collapses. You were breaking up there for a little bit. One more time. We get it. I'm really sorry. Yeah, you were like breaking up real bad there.